Thank you, Senator Duniam. Senator Gallacher.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. I rise to make a contribution on a matter of special interest to myself and I think millions of Australians, and that is road safety. And when the Prime Minister makes a contribution either on the radio or on the TV or in a public forum, like most Australians, I keep a bit of an ear open to see, what his attitude, what his leadership's going to be. And I must say I was incredibly disappointed at the comments made in an interview with Mr Chris Kenny. And I want to place on the public record, and I accept that this isn't this is not the entire interview. I don't have time to put that in the public arena in this contribution. But the Prime Minister said, "I'm always in favour of a national approach. But as you know, state governments and state parliaments often have different views. And the critical thing is we've seen the death toll going down and now it's coming up again, and the question is why?" And amongst other things, he goes on to say, "As a federation, the responsibility for road safety is overwhelmingly with state governments, as you know." Now, Mr Kenny said we've had a lot of callers, and the Prime Minister says we have the convening power to bring them together and, see what we can do, what changes can be made. Well, I think, and I'm not entirely critical of the Prime Minister not being across this particular area of public policy per se, but I am critical after 5 years that this government hasn't got its act together in road safety. We have not got our act together in road safety. And if I were to point out that we spend $5.397 billion on roads, that's the best evidence or best estimate from the Parliamentary Library, $5.397 billion on roads each year, then we have a bit more power than getting states together. The federal entity has a lot more power than just convening meetings of state ministers and saying, "What do you think is the best way forward?" And it is in the public arena. The Australian College of Road Safety calls on the federal government to make the publication of targeted safety star ratings on the national road network a condition for any Commonwealth investment in the network from 1718 onwards, and undertake a full policy review to leverage greater safety results from the current investment in road transport, and ensure all new vehicles, cars, vans, motorcycles, buses, trucks are equipped with world's best practice safety technologies and meet world best practice crashworthiness. Now, if the Prime Minister had said any of that in his interview, I would have been much happier. Nearly $3.397 billion worth of investment in roads each year, and all you have to do is mandate that the acquitter of that money has a targeted road safety strategy and a star rating on that road. So that would mean that the Northern Territory roads, where the most horrific statistics exist, would become safer. West Australian roads, who have the second highest fatality rate, would become safer. So we don't have to rely on convening the 6 warring states or territories. We just have to focus the government spend on roads targeted towards world's best practice in road design. And we need to go on and make sure that we only drive the best and safest vehicles in Australia. Now, the Australian Automobile Association has delivered to every member of this place an assessment of where we're at in road safety. Objective: reduce fatalities by 30%. Status: fail. Objective: reduce serious injuries by 30%. Status: fail. We can't even measure them. We cannot even measure serious injuries in this country from road accidents. And if you can't measure them, how are you going to acquit them and reduce them? Improve vehicle safety. Status: fail. Now, this is not some Labor left-wing think tank. This is the peak group of motorist representatives. The peak group. It gets the advice from all of the jurisdictions, collates it, and it is saying very, very clearly that the way forward is you reinstate the National or the Federal Office of Road Safety. It goes on to say you remove tariff and taxes to make safer cars cheaper. You mandate autonomous braking technology. You mandate lane keep assist. You put in place the technologies that cope when human beings fail. And if you look at the industry that is in this space, you've got the CEO of Toll, who used to be the CEO of Linfox, a 40-year veteran of the transport industry, writing to the Prime Minister saying we need a national licensing scheme. We need people in heavy transport to be fit and proper people, as they are in the UK, to run transport systems. You know, a national licensing scheme that holds managers and drivers accountable so that unsafe operators out there cannot continue to risk the lives of others. There is abundant evidence mounting that we can do really good work in this space, and it is an apolitical issue. There is not an electorate in this country that is not touched by a motor vehicle accident or a motor vehicle injury almost every day. For every 100,000 people in your electorate, 5.3 or 5 of those will die. That's what the stats are saying. And we have a Prime Minister who is obviously not brought up to speed on this issue. So the fault clearly lies with the respective ministers of transport over the last 5 years. And they need to get off, their collective office chairs and put in place good, sensible practices to reduce the toll, reduce the injuries and kick back into the economy a growth figure. $30-odd billion is lost to the economy as a cost of accidents, deaths and injuries.